but underneath that veneer there is an industry which services the country, and they're in every village, town and city across Ireland, and they're employers and they're contributing to the economy and to community. And I don't think we should come at this from the mindset that, you know, it's all bad, because it's not, because, you know, everybody has to live. Thank you.
Ask members, including the Minister, to stick to the amendments, please, as laid down here, as close as you can.
Yeah, I know, but the Minister did. No,
oh,
I don't know.
That's why I'm including the Minister as well. Now, can I ask Deputy Loughlin to come in, please? Deputy Loughlin wants to come in here.
Minister, the issue of regulation is interesting. As you know, the Competition Authority here didn't recommend that the regulatory authority would have the sole regulation. In Britain, there is a practice of regulating the regulators, and I think that the difficulty in Ireland is that, and the Law Society acknowledges, is that while they would rigorously defend the independence of their complaints procedure, there is a perception in the public that it isn't independent, and therefore the Law Society have conceded that this new regulatory authority should have the full complaints function. But I would invite you to outline why you believe the British model that they have chosen in terms of regulating the regulators.
But ask you, which section are you
I'm speaking to the amendments.
Which one?
Well, basically 21, particularly the amendments from Deputy Collins and Deputy McGrath essentially would remove the regulatory function away from the authority and would make them regulate the regulators, as is the British model. So I'm inviting the Minister to just elaborate. I'm actually not. I'm just of an open mind on this. I'd like the Minister to sort of advocate for his position and explain why you feel so strongly that this should be the case when that wasn't what the Competition Authority recommended.
Thank you.
I don't think, Chairman, that we need to have duplication in these areas where you have the professions regulating themselves, and then you have oversight of the professions. I also think there's an issue of public confidence, and in fact, the model we're looking at and we're implementing more replicates the approach, and it's not identical, but it more replicates the approach taken in Australia than the British model. And the British model, I don't think anyone has sold as being an ideal to be adapted in other jurisdictions. We're a different jurisdiction. I think we should take a different approach. I agree with Deputy McLaughlin on one issue. I think, in fairness, if we just take the Law Society, they have in recent years, I think, done what they can do to ensure that they have a complaint system that seeks to deal with complaints made in a rigorous fashion. But there is a problem with a professional body determining complaints made about a member of their own profession. And it's the old issue of not only should justice be done, it should be seen to be done. There should be no suspicion of bias. I'm not suggesting there is, but there's certainly a public perception of concern. And in the past, there have been issues of concern surrounding the manner in which some complaints are dealt with. I'm not going to cast any stones and say, because I don't know whether all of the concerns expressed are right or not. But it was part of the Troika model, firstly, that we do have approach this matter and implement reform. The government made a decision that it's in the public interest that there be independent oversight of the two professions and that there be an independent complaints structure about which no one can raise issues as to it having any vested interest or bias in the decision-making processes. And I think that this is the correct way to go. And I regard the process we're engaged in, because no one has a monopoly of wisdom in these things, as very valuable. We've had a lengthy consultative process. I'd have liked to have started a committee stage earlier, but the work that had to be undertaken on the insolvency bill delayed matters in the context of the Attorney's Office being in a position to deal with it. And we'll continue to tease out issues through committee stage and to report stage. But I believe this is a model that is in the public interest. It can give public confidence. in the manner in which complaints issues are dealt with, but it goes much broader than that in looking at other areas relating to the legal professions, the provision of new business models, addressing what may need to be done to ensure that they can have in place any changed or appropriate regulatory structures or codes of conduct, a whole range of things that couldn't happen without our having an independent regulatory authority. If matters were simply left as they are, with an oversight body such as the Legal Service Ombudsman operating, the only role really would be to oversee what has already been done by the professions at present. This also brings together a unified complaint system that applies to both branches of the professions, both the solicitor's profession and the bar. I think in public terms there's more visibility and understanding of the approach taken by the solicitor's profession than by the bar, but obviously I'm familiar with both approaches. But I think there should be a consistency. Where complaints are made about members of the legal profession, there should be a consistency as to how they're approached, and similar issues arise. I know there are discrete issues that may presently arise in relation to solicitors that will not currently arise in relation to members of the bar, but there are other areas where they overlap, and on occasions indeed a complaint may be made by a client about a solicitor and a barrister both engaged in the one area of litigation, jointly representing a client. And if a complaint is made now, the complaint against the barrister is dealt with under one structure by one particular disciplinary body, and against the solicitor under another structure by the solicitor's disciplinary body. And in those circumstances, surely it's in the public interest and in the interest of the members of the legal profession, because not all complaints that are made are valid. There are many spurious complaints made against members of the legal profession who have absolutely done their best for their clients, and on occasions complaints are made by clients who haven't told the full story to the legal professionals representing them, and then blame the legal professionals when something goes wrong. But I think a consistency of decision making on complaints by the one body, where the complaints may involve both branches of the profession arising out of the one issue, I think this structure provides for that. Finally, just to come back to something Deputy Collins said, which I absolutely agree with, in the current financial climate, there is absolutely no doubt in recent years that various solicitors' practices have found themselves in far more difficult financial times than has been the case in the past. There were many solicitors in the 2008-2010 period who lost their jobs as firms contracted. We have, and I'm sure I'm open to correction on this if the figure is wrong, but I think we've in excess of 1,000 young barristers, 1,000 young solicitors presently, I should say, who are unemployed. We have many members of the bar who are fully and properly qualified who are departing the bar because there isn't work available to them. So I'm not suggesting that every solicitor in the country is earning huge amounts of money. What I was doing was quoting the Troika, who took an oversight view of fees being charged, I think, in some general areas and commercial areas, in some of the major areas, and who have rightly or wrongly formed the view, because this is merely a view I was reciting, that they have expressed, that legal fees generally in some areas haven't reduced. Now, I would be personally aware, as I'm sure the deputies are, of firms who have hit hard financial times and have reduced the charges that they're issuing to clients who they're representing. So I wouldn't want to be misrepresented in any shape to suggest that across the legal professions, solicitors, we have solicitors in every town and city in this country, that everyone is doing terribly well. There's a lot not doing well. There are a lot in difficulties. There are young solicitors who can't get jobs at the moment. Providing greater competition, new business models, new opportunities will benefit not just the public, but the legal profession itself.
Okay. Now we're up against time, folks. We agreed that we would finish at 11, and it's close to that now. And I noticed that the order of business is due to start in the chamber in a few minutes. So I propose to.
I understand, Chairman, that I'm okay till 11:15. So if we're able to finish these amendments,
we could do it. The only difficulty we have a vote, and we're in the middle of discussing something. But that's the only difficulty we may have. Now,
this section, yeah.
well, I can put the question on 21 and 22 now. Members will agree to that. But then question 23 is a different one again, which has to be discussed, and 24, which could take a bit of time. So that's my problem. I would like to continue on and finish section 9 now, if possible. But we have 23 and 24 in the centre there in the name of Deputy Collins. And I put the question on 21 anyway, and that the new section be there inserted. Is that agreed? Not agreed? How stands that amendment? Sorry, Amendment 21. How stands that amendment, Deputy Collins?
I'll press the amendment.
Pressing Amendment 21. Okay, that the amendment is being pressed. On Amendment 21, the question is the new section there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think it's lost. Amendment lost. On Amendment number 22, in the name of Deputy Collins and McGrath, that's already discussed. 21. How stands that amendment?
I'll press it.
Pressing amendment. On Amendment number 22, the question is that the new section. Amendment number 22, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. The question is that the new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think it's lost. Okay, we'll move on. Amendment number 23 in the name of Deputy Collins and McGrath. It's a new section 23 and 24 related and will be discussed together. Deputy Collins to move.
I just moved them, Chair. The
You're
points
moving
are
23
repetitive, yeah.
and 24. And Minister, do you want to comment on those?
I'm opposed to these amendments, Chairman. They largely reflect in principle what is contained in the corresponding government provisions.
Okay. Amendment number 23. How stand the amendment, Deputy Collins?
I'll press.
Press. Okay. On amendment number 23, the question is the new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think it's lost. Lost. On amendment number 24, the name of Deputy Collins, how stands the amendment?
I'll press it.
Amendment pressed. On amendment number 24, the question is new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think it's lost. Amendment lost. Amendment number 25, in the name of Deputy Collins, McGrath, already discussed. 21. How stands that amendment?
I'll press it.
Pressed. On amendment number 21, the question is new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
It's lost. Amendment number 26, Deputy Collins, how stands that amendment?
I'll press it.
On amendment number 26, the question is the new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think it's lost. Amendment lost. On amendment number 27, how stands that amendment? Already discussed. 21, Deputy Collins.
I'll press it.
Amendment pressed. On amendment 27, the question is the new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
Amendment lost. Lost. Amendment number 28, a new section. How stands that amendment?
I'll
Deputy
press
Collins?
it.
Pressed again.
Yeah.
On amendment 28, the question is new section be there inserted. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
Amendment lost. Lost. Amendment number 29 in the name of the Minister. Minister to move. The question is amendment be made.
Agreed?
Agreed. Amendment agreed. Amendment number 30 in the name of Deputy Collins. I discussed 21. Deputy to move.
Move.
How stands the amendment?
I'll press it.
Pressed. On amendment number 30, the question is that the amendment be made. Those in favour say tall.
Tall.
Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think the amendment is lost. Amendment lost. Amendment number 31 in the name of the Minister. Minister to move.
I move.
The question is that the amendment be made. Is that agreed? Agreed. Amendment agreed. Amendment number 32, already discussed with 21. Minister to move.
I move.
The question is amendment be made. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Amendment agreed. Amendment number 33 in the name of the Minister. Already discussed. 21. Minister
I
to move.
move.
Already discussed with 21. The question is Minister. Amendment be made. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Amendment agreed. Amendment number 34 in the name of the Minister. Minister to move.
I move.
The question is that the amendment made. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Amendment agreed. Amendment number 35 in the name of Deputy Collins. Already discussed at 21. How stands the amendment?
I'll move it. Press
And
it.
the question on amendment number 35. The question is that the amendment be made.
Tall.
Those in favour say tall. Tall. Those against say nil.
Nil.
I think the amendment is lost. Amendment lost. That section 9 is amended. Stand part of the bill. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed. Okay, now we are now into a separate section. It's now 5 past, and I just want to know if colleagues want to proceed or will we adjourn? We'll adjourn. Okay, we agreed to adjourn earlier on. Meeting adjourned. In a day. Thank the Minister's officials for being here and for members as well for helping us getting through this so far today.